After the colossal year that was 2023, I expected 2024 to be a quieter year for gaming, but it managed to defy my expectations and plenty of great games released last year. However, with 2024 also came more dire news for the gaming industry. Last year broke 2023's grim record of 10,500 layoffs, reaching a staggering 14,600. The resulting fallout of poor pandemic-era financial decisions by industry investors and executives. I really hope 2025 marks a turning point where developers are respected for their creativity and passion and are no longer treated
like numbers on a spreadsheet.
This video is a celebration, a look back at my favorite games of 2024, and I'd like to dedicate it to all the developers that bring games to life. This past year was packed with so many incredible games that despite my best efforts to play them all, some amazing titles slipped through the cracks. Here are the games I wish I played. Twenty 2025 is shaping up to be a massive year for video game releases, with something for everyone from blockbuster AAA titles to innovative and creative indie projects, and of course, all of this exists under the looming shadow of the game that is Grand Theft Auto 6. Here are just 10 of my most anticipated games of 2025. Before we move on to my top 10, I want to take a moment to shout out 3 games that narrowly missed the cut. First up is Persona 3 Reload, a remake of Persona 3 and my first experience with any version of that game. The game has a gorgeous art style, lovable cast of characters, and a phenomenal soundtrack. The sole reason it's here and not on my folded list is because I just haven't been able to finish it yet. Another game not in the top 10 due to not finishing it, Dragon's Dogma 2 has been an incredible time so far. Sure, it's janky at times, but that's part of the charm. The feeling of the combat and exploration are some of the best I've experienced, and the pawn and vocation systems add so much depth and character to the game. And last but certainly not least, I want to mention the Stardew Valley 1.6 update, the final update to the game after 8 years, and the culmination of 12 years of love, passion, and dedication from its creator Concerned 8. Stardew Valley is my favorite video game, and I couldn't let this final update pass by without honoring how special of a game it is to me and countless others. Finally, here we are, my 10 favorite games of 2024. From expansive RPGs to genre-bending indies, these are the games that have left the biggest impact on me. Without further ado, let's get into my top 10. Developed by Wrong Organ, Mouthwashing is a horror title set aboard the Tulpar, a spaceship whose crew is tasked with delivering a shipment across space until things take a dark turn. Over its roughly 2-hour runtime, the game throws countless gameplay styles and concepts at you, making it a wild, unforgettable ride. I'd love to say more about the game, but talking or showing too much would spoil the experience. If this piques your interest, I highly recommend playing it for yourself. Just be aware that it delves into some dark subject matter, so keep that in mind before diving in. Alan Wake 2 caught me by surprise in 2023. Spoilers, it was my game of the year. And its 2 expansions have only cemented it as one of my favorite games of all time. Night Springs delivered 3 short but wildly creative what-if scenarios featuring characters from across the Remedyverse. Each episode swings for the fences with crazy, inventive concepts that make for a mind-bending experience. The Lake House, on the other hand, aligns more closely with the tone of the base game, exploring the dangers of the use of artificial intelligence in the creation of art, whether it's writing, visual art, music, or anything in between, expertly weaving that message into the existing narrative of Alan Wake and the Remedyverse as a whole. These expansions both carry that unmistakable Remedy charm and serve as the cherry on top of the already delicious dessert that was Alan Wake 2. While I agree that expansions probably shouldn't be eligible for Game of the Year at the Game Awards, especially if you have to play at least 40 hours of the base game to even reach it, I'd be lying if I said Shadow of the Erdtree wasn't one of the best things I played last year. It delivers some of Elden Ring's best boss fights, and new weapons are just as exciting, with hand-to-hand quickly becoming my favorite weapon class in the entire game. The expansion also takes verticality to another level, literally. From a top-down perspective, the map seems small, at least relatively. However, it's anything but. The Realm of Shadow is a layered maze of towering ascents and endless depths, with each area linked together seamlessly. Even with sky-high expectations, Shadow of the Erdtree somehow exceeded them. Once again, From Software proves why they're one of the best in the business. But you know what's just as good a feeling as defeating that one Elden Ring boss? The pure unfiltered dopamine rush of playing Balatro. As someone who's never played poker a day in his life, I was intimidated by Balatro, and I figured it would hold my interest for an hour at most before I decided I was bad at it and quit. But 1 hour turned into 2, then 3, and suddenly it was 2 AM. I was hooked. The core game loop is simple. You build poker hands to score enough points to clear each round, modifying your runs with tarot cards that provide one-off buffs, planet cards that boost the level of different hands, spectral cards that provide a strong bonus at a cost, and of course jokers. There are 150 unique jokers in the game that when used in the right configurations can turn a simple hand into a skyrocketing chain reaction of points. Balatro is the ultimate number go up game in the best way possible. The feeling of stacking multipliers until the game starts counting your scoring powers of 10 is pure magic, enhanced by the endlessly catchy soundtrack that never gets old. The game's solo developer, Local Thunk, owes a global debt of stolen productivity hours caused by this game. I highly recommend it, but be wary, it'll get you. In Animal Well, you're dropped into a mesmerizing, eerie world with no text, no explicit guidance, just threads to pull at that lead you to discover things on your own. Every solved puzzle feels like you've uncovered something secret and important, and just when you think you've reached the end, the game peels back another layer, revealing hidden depths and secrets that most players will never even realize exist. The way this game handles music is also so impressive, as there are creatures whose cries, croaks, and calls combine to create an atmospheric soundscape in each room you find them in. And here's the kicker. This entire experience, with its intricate puzzles and stunning visuals, is packed into a game with a file size that is under 40 megabytes. A technical marvel from solo developer Billy Basso, who built his own engine just for it. If you love mysteries or Metroidvanias, Animal Well is a must-play. In the hours I spent with Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, I was completely enthralled. Every corner of its eerie mansion hides another expertly crafted puzzle waiting to be solved. The game practically requires a physical notebook, what with all the different codes and translations and symbols you need to remember. By the end, mine looked like the scrawlings of a madman, but that extra layer of tactility, flipping through the notes I took, made every discovery feel even more personal and rewarding. The puzzles strike a perfect balance between challenge and accessibility, with there always being 2 or 3 other puzzles for you to try your hand at while taking a break from one that's giving you a tough time. The fixed camera angles and black and red aesthetic combined with the meticulous level design make it feel like you're trapped in a large puzzle box, and the haunting atmospheric soundtrack ties everything together. It might seem daunting at first, but Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is surprisingly approachable, and may just be the best puzzle game I've ever played. Outside of Mario, I've never really been much of a 3D platformer guy. Nothing has managed to scratch the same itch. But that changed last year thanks to this one jolly little robot. What did you say your name was? Astrobot is an absolute blast, packed with fresh ideas, inventive mechanics, and levels bursting with creativity. It also makes the most impressive use of the DualSense controller I've ever seen. Adaptive triggers offer dynamic resistance, the use of the built-in mic reminds me of DS era gimmicks, and the haptics and speaker make every surface feel distinct. You don't just see the world of Astrobot, thanks to the DualSense you feel it. This game is a love letter to PlayStation, with nearly 200 characters from across its history, all lovingly adapted and represented through its joyous soundtrack, its level design, and Astro's interactions with them. Sure, you could call it a glorified ad, but the sheer passion Team Asobi so clearly poured into it makes it a celebration. I genuinely think this game is flawless. With its boundless creativity and joyous energy, Astrobot easily stands shoulder to shoulder with the best 3D platformers ever made. Metaphor ReFantazio was a phenomenal experience from start to end. This is the first Atlus game I've ever managed to roll credits on, and what a game to start with. Its story completely captivated me, and its cast of characters now ranks among my all-time favorites, right up there with Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy X. The game does such an excellent job of giving the attention to both its overarching story as well as to individual stories of each of your followers. Every aspect of Metaphor comes together to create something truly special, from the art direction to the music and the game's core themes. The archetype system, which lets you customize each character's class, was so engaging to experiment with, offering endless strategic depth while keeping battles fresh and engaging. I loved every moment of this game, and I'm so eager to dive into Atlus's catalog and actually finish some of the Persona and Shin Megami Tensei games. Metaphor ReFantazio is a game bursting with style, emotion, and ambition, an unforgettable RPG that more than earns its place among the best of the year. Many of my favorite games each year are the ones that take me by surprise, but sometimes I know I'm gonna love something and then I just do. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was my most anticipated game of 2024, and it absolutely delivered. As someone whose first experience with the Final Fantasy franchise was Remake in 2020, I was beyond excited to see how its sequel would expand on such a strong foundation, and it did not disappoint. Packed with charm, humor, and emotional moments, this game had a grip on my brain from start to finish. The cast of characters might just be my favorite in any game I've played, and I'm so invested in their journey. I adore Rebirth's combat. I think they may have the best RPG battle system out there, striking a perfect balance between slower strategic decision making and fast-paced action combat, mastering it feel incredibly rewarding. Aside from combat, the game is overflowing with side content, sometimes to an overwhelming extent, but everything felt like it tied meaningfully into the world around Cloud and the gang. In particular, I fell in love with Queen's Blood, and I genuinely hope Square Enix makes a standalone version of it. I would be remiss to speak about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and not mention its gargantuan soundtrack, comprised of reimagined classics like One Winged Angel and Cosmo Canyon, and new standouts like the Queen's Blood theme. With its sprawling world, lovable cast, phenomenal soundtrack, and heartfelt story, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth feels like a game that shouldn't even be possible, but it happened. I can't recommend this game enough, and I can't wait for the culmination of the remake trilogy. Here we are, the big one, my 2024 Game of the Year. There were so many games I loved in 2024, but after reflecting on my time with them all, one stayed on my mind more than any other. Pacific Drive is one of the most inventive games I've played in years. It takes the foundation of a driving sim and flips it on its head, turning it into a survival game where every excursion demands careful planning and resource management. Early on, you're told that objects like your car tend to inspire attachment, and by the end, I completely understood why. Your car is the main character of Pacific Drive, and the time you spend with it over the course of the game makes you feel attached to it. Every run into the anomaly-ridden Olympic exclusion zone was its own tense but thrilling adventure. Returning to the garage with newly acquired resources was its own reward, and I'd spent almost as long as I was out in the zone at the garage upgrading, repairing, and customizing my car and the garage itself until they felt truly like my own. Beyond its mechanics, Pacific Drive is visually stunning with eerie yet beautiful set pieces that bring the Pacific Northwest setting to life. The soundtrack, both its original music and licensed radio tracks, adds so much to the experience and makes you feel like you're in the zone yourself, channel surfing for the perfect soundtrack to your expedition. I can't wait to see what Ironwood Studios does next. Pacific Drive isn't perfect, but its soul and its creativity shine through every moment of the journey. Some games come and go, but like the exclusion zone itself, Pacific Drive pulled me in, refused to let go, and left a lasting impression that I won't shake anytime soon. And that's why it's my 2024 Game of the Year. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my Best of 2024 video. I hope you enjoyed it, and even more so, that you found a game or two from last year that you want to try out, and maybe some in 2025 to look forward to. Thank you again to all the developers who make all the games we love. I hope 2025 will be a better and brighter year for the industry. Until next time, stay safe and happy gaming.